Shocking truth, my son said dinner was cancelled, but I walked in on a surprise party at midnight. The clock struck midnight, its chimes echoing eerily through the darkened house. Sarah's heart raced as she peered around the corner, her son's casual words still buzzing in her ears. Dinner's cancelled, he said nonchalantly, that innocent grin plastered on his face. Little did she know, he was the conductor of this orchestra of secrecy. The air hung thick with mystery, like a fog rolled in to envelop her. What was lurking behind those closed doors? She walked softly, the wooden floor creaking beneath her, amplifying the suspenseful silence. Shadows danced on the walls, twisting into grotesque shapes as she tiptoed down the hall. The kitchen was empty, yet a warm, sweet aroma wafted through the air, leaving her mouth watering and her stomach rumbling. What was going on? A fire flickered to life inside her, curiosity mixed with unease. Suddenly, the unmistakable sound of muffled whispers reached her ears. Voices, urgent and hushed, drifted from the living room. Her brow furrowed, heart pounding like a jackhammer against her ribcage. Was this an elaborate joke? A prank gone too far? Every instinct told her to run, but she was rooted to the spot, caught between fear and intrigue. The front door stood ajar, the moonlight spilling across the floor like spilled ink, illuminating a slip of paper just visible under the couch. In a trembling fit of determination, she leaned down to retrieve it. "Surprise!" was all it read, scribbled in her son's unmistakable childish scrawl. A thrill shot up her spine, a blend of anxiety and excitement. She could feel the electric tension building in the house, buzzing like a live wire waiting to ignite. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Could this really be the surprise? But then, it hit her, if her son orchestrated this, who was here? Would they leap out with silly hats and cake, or was this too bizarre for a simple celebration? A rush of adrenaline coursed through her veins. She pushed the door open wider, her heart pounding like a drum. What she saw next froze her in place. Balloons and streamers hung from every corner, the light flickered on, revealing a shower of smiling faces that stared back at her, eyes wide with excitement, the suspense now crackling in tension. But one face stood out, eerily still, watching her with an intensity that made her skin crawl. Something felt off. What secret lay hidden behind those innocent smiles? As the crowd erupted in cheers and laughter, she took a tentative step into the room. Yet, a strange feeling gnawed at her, leaving a pit in her stomach. Was this truly a birthday surprise, or was there something darker hidden behind the joy? Her gaze swept to the back of the room, where the music played faintly, and shadows seemed to shift. More than just a party, perhaps. That whisper in her mind grew louder. What else had she failed to notice? With her heart in her throat, she braced herself for what was to come, gripping the doorframe as if it were her lifeline. What other secrets was her son hiding? What was this night truly about? The clamor of laughter and excitement washed over Sarah, almost drowning out her racing pulse. The moment felt surreal. She was trapped in a dream where everything seemed vibrant, yet shadows loomed just out of reach. As the crowd closed in on her, hands outstretched, their laughter rang hollow in her ears, slightly off-key, as if rehearsed. "Surprise!" they chanted, but the word echoed strangely in the cavern of her mind. It was a celebration for her, yet all she could focus on was that chilling gaze from the back. Who was watching? Who stood apart from the joy? Her son, Josh, bounded toward her, his cheeks flushed with pride. "Didn't you love it, Mom? I wanted it to be special." He threw his arms around her, but instead of warmth, it felt like an anchor pulling her into deeper waters. The smile on his face didn't quite reach his eyes, which darted nervously. "Josh, who else is here?" she asked, her voice strained as she tried to maintain an air of calm. She scanned the rooms, the faces, the corners where the shadows gathered. The sweet aroma turned sour in her stomach, twisting her insides. "Just some friends," he replied quickly, barely waiting for her to respond before he was swept away by another group of kids, laughter erupting again. But Sarah's focus remained fixed, narrowing on that one person. The figure stood too still, almost haunting, like a specter lurking at the edge of a forgotten memory. As the music pulsed, she fought the urge to slip out, to escape the growing sense of dread. Everything had changed. The reality of the party softened but twisted her perception. Colors blurred together, the smiles on the other faces seemed painted on. Her instincts screamed to run. "What's wrong, Sarah?" A voice interrupted her thoughts. She swung around to find Karen, her close friend, worry etched across her features. "You look pale." "It's a party. Just enjoy it." "It's just, who's that?" Sarah muttered, gesturing vaguely towards the back. But when Karen turned to look, the figure had vanished into the crowd. "What are you talking about?" Karen furrowed her brow. "There's no one there." Her breath quickened again, the panic returned. "No, I swear, there was someone. I saw them." "Are you sure you're not just tired?" "You've been working a lot," Karen suggested, but her voice softened into concern. Before Sarah could respond, the music jolted, a sharp note echoing through the room, catching everyone's attention. Lights flickered. Faces turned anxious. And just like that, the atmosphere shifted. Whispered tension hung thick as the music stopped, plunging the room into an uneasy silence. Then, a sound cut through. A low voice, sinister and powerful, emerged from the shadowy corner, sending a chill down her spine. "Sarah. We need to talk." A gasp escaped her lips. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. That voice was familiar, too familiar. Her heart plunged, dread crushing her thoughts like a vice. Who was it? Why now? She turned slowly, every muscle in her body tensed, and there they stood, lurking in the half-light, a face she never expected to see again. The ghosts of her past had returned to haunt her. What was happening? Did they come to ruin her son's special day? Why were they here? With the air thick with unspoken fear, Sarah felt her world tilt violently. There were more secrets to discover. More truths to uncover. But this time, the price of knowledge may cost her everything. The crowd turned in unison, breaking the spell of laughter as they shifted their gazes towards the shadow. Whispers danced through the air, crackling with curiosity and unease. Heart racing, Sarah's breath felt heavier, each inhale steeped in an unsettling mix of dread and disbelief. The laughter faded, transforming into a murmurings that draped the room in a shroud of tension. Who are you?" Sarah's voice trembled, barely breaking through the suffocating silence. "I'm here for you, Sarah. We need to settle this. Now." The figure stepped into the dim light, revealing a face she thought she had locked away forever. Jason. Just hearing his name sent a jolt of cold fear through her. Memories rushed back, memories she had buried deep, like scars that ached with the change in weather. Why now? She struggled to keep her voice steady, to hold on to something fragile in this spiraling chaos. "This is Josh's party. You shouldn't be here." Jason's eyes bored into hers, dark and intense. "I know. But you have to understand, things have changed since you walked away." The laughter resumed, but it felt like a distant echo, warped and eerie. Her heart ached for the normalcy that had been shattered. She glanced at Josh, laughing and joking with his friends, blissfully unaware. The hard knot of worry in her stomach tightened further. She had to protect him, but how could she keep the storm at bay while facing the past? "Not here," she insisted, desperate to keep Jason's words from reaching anyone else. "You need to leave." But Jason stepped closer, his voice dropping to a whisper that sent chills dancing down her spine. You can't just pretend it didn't happen. I didn't come here to ruin anything, I came to help you. A flicker of confusion ignited a faint glimmer of hope. Help? Did he think he could help after all this time? Help? After everything? The disbelief washed over her like ice water, leaving her breathless. What could you possibly do? He hesitated, searching her eyes for something: remorse, love, fear? It was hard to tell when all she could see was the history that had built an impenetrable wall between them. I know things. Things about your past, things you thought were finished. Panic surged through her. How much did he know? Did he come here with ulterior motives? Or was this some twisted attempt at reconciliation? Get away from me, she hissed, her body instinctively moving to shield herself. Suddenly, the lights flickered again, and the crowd's laughter halted mid-chuckle, plunging the space back into a heavy silence. All eyes were now on them. Sarah felt the weight of those stares like burning coals, pressing down on her. Mom? Josh's voice sliced through the tension, laced with concern. He emerged from the throng of kids, his carefree expression replaced with confusion. Horror gripped Sarah as she turned and caught the mix of fear and curiosity on his face. Mom, what's wrong? Nothing, honey. Just stay with your friends, she urged, trying to mask the frantic urgency in her tone. As she turned back to Jason, anger surged within her. You shouldn't be here, Jason. Leave. Now, she commanded, her voice low but fierce. The lingering silence cracked as Jason's laugh erupted unexpectedly, dark and bitter. You think you can bury this? Secrets don't stay hidden forever, Sarah. With that, he slipped back into the shadowy corner, leaving her alone amidst the glare of shifting gazes. Anxiety twisted in her gut as whispers erupted around the room. The air felt electric, charged with dangers she couldn't control. As Josh rejoined his friends, Sarah's thoughts spiraled. The night was supposed to be about joy, about love, about celebration. Yet all she felt was impending doom looming closer. What was it that Jason had planned? Was her past truly gone, or was it clawing its way back? The questions pressed against her, suffocating. And as laughter erupted again into nervous waves, a singular truth flashed through her mind. She was just beginning to uncover the disturbing truths that would threaten everything she loved, what was hidden in the shadows of her past, waiting to unravel at the worst possible moment. The atmosphere thickened as darkness crept into Sarah's mind, slicing through the visual chaos of the party. The acrid smell of sweat and fear rose from her spiraling thoughts, coiling tighter around her throat. She blinked slowly, her heart hammering like a wild beast as she regarded the flickering light, thinking how easily it could plunge back into darkness. Josh's laughter echoed somewhere in the distance, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing just feet away. His innocence was a shimmering beacon, a stark contrast to the shadows lurking within her own life. Mom, are you okay? Josh's voice tugged at her. His approach felt like a lifeline, yet the overwhelming urge to shield him from Jason's presence gripped her fiercely. Yeah, sweetheart. Just everything's fine, she managed to say, the lie tasting bitter on her tongue, but Jason wasn't done. He lingered in the background, shadows dancing across his face, making him look more like a specter than a person. You can't run from the truth, Sarah. None of us can. I said to leave. She practically shouted, the tension erupting into a wall of sound within the soft confines of the party. The crowd shifted, whispers morphing into gasps and side glances loaded with judgment. Hey, no need to shout, a familiar voice chimed in, and Sarah's pulse quickened as she turned to face Melissa, her best friend. What's going on? What does it look like? Sarah hissed back, the sharp edge of her anxiety tinged with frustration. Just keep Josh away from him. From who? Melissa frowned, confused, but before Sarah could respond, Jason stepped forward again, leaning in with an urgent whisper. You think you can protect him? You're only burying your own fears deeper. You want to run from this. Stop. She nearly screamed, breaking through the muddle of laughter and music. The crowd recoiled slightly, the mood shifting as people began to piece together the undeniable tension enveloping them. Josh looked back at her, eyes wide with confusion, his joy waning. Mom? Everything's okay, honey. Just stay there, Sarah said, desperation tightening her voice as she glanced back at Jason, who crossed his arms defiantly, almost daring her to challenge him. A sudden chill swept through the room as the lights flickered again, plunging them all into flickering chaos. For an instant, the shadows seemed to develop a life of their own, snapping to attention as foreboding filled every corner. When the lights returned, Jason was gone, but his lingering presence felt as real as the very air she breathed. Mom, I don't like this. Why is he here? Josh asked, stepping closer with an assertive urge to shield her as much as she wanted to shield him. Because I made a mistake a long time ago. And sometimes, those mistakes come back to haunt you. Silence hung in the air like a thick fog, heavy with the weight of unspoken truths. Sarah dreaded what Jason might expose, knowing he held pieces of her past filled with ghosts that could unravel not just her, but Josh's world too. Can't we just pretend it never happened? She whispered to herself, desperation clawing at her. Mom, what's wrong? Josh pressed, worry etched across his face, but the truth was already rolling toward them like an approaching storm, ready to break. Within the depths of her mind, shadows loomed ever closer, pushing her toward a collision. She couldn't outrun this. As she closed her eyes, grappling with the heartbeat of her fears, a sudden shriek sliced through the air. A collective gasp resonated as everyone turned towards the door, where a figure sprawled against the frame, stumbling and barely standing, his face obscured. Baby, the voice croaked, familiar yet tainted with misery. Sarah's stomach dropped. Had it all come back to this moment? Did the past always have this astonishing talent for reappearing at the worst times? And there, looming at the threshold, was a shadow larger than she had ever imagined. What secrets did he bring with him, ready to break loose like fire roaring through dry brush? The figure stepped further into the light, limping as if every movement cost him a fragment of his strength. As the crowd moved aside, the air filled with whispers, eyes weighing the heavy burden of recognition. Sarah's heart pounded, every beat echoing with trepidation, as she forced herself to meet his gaze. Mark? The name slipped from her lips, a subconscious prayer tainted with disbelief. Sarah, he murmured, his voice gravelly, each word wrapped in layers of pain. How long had it been since she had seen him? Years filled with anger, shadows, and perhaps a sliver of hope that he might never return. Yet here he was, a ghost from a past she had tried so hard to bury. Josh squirmed beside her, an innocent thrust into a storm. Who's that, Mom? His voice was barely a whisper, curiosity battling with fear. It's complicated, Sarah stammered, pushing back the swell of memories. Brief flashes of smiles, laughter, heartache came flooding back, each one tainted by a chasm of regret. Mark staggered closer, the pain in his eyes almost tangible. I came to find you to explain. I don't want to hear it. The words burst from her, instinctively protective. She had fought tooth and nail to build a life away from his shadows. The anguish brewed inside her, memories of betrayal igniting once more. The hurt had shaped her, it had framed every choice she made. But he persisted, voice rising against the clamor of the surrounding crowd. You don't understand. I had to leave. It was for your safety. Her heart twisted painfully. Safety? Is that what you call abandoning me? Josh tugged at her sleeve, confusion etched across his face. Mom, what's happening? Not knowing how to shield him from the tornado of emotions swirling around them, Sarah drew in a shaky breath, willing herself to maintain composure. Mark, you don't get to just show up like this, she shot back, fighting fiercely against the flood of emotions threatening to drown her. Yet deep down, a flicker of curiosity broke through. Why now? What secrets lay hidden in the corners of his mind? At that moment, the lights flickered again, a warning, a cue. And just as the flickering intensified, a sudden crash echoed from the kitchen, causing heads to snap in that direction. Panic surged, sending a ripple through the crowd. "Stay close, Josh," she whispered urgently, feeling her protectiveness surge. Mark's expression twisted in alarm. "It's not safe here. We need to leave now." As the word leave left his lips, a blood-curdling scream pierced the air, plunging the room into chaos. Guests shouted, chaos erupted, and the cheerful music ceased abruptly, leaving only the thumping of Sarah's heart in her ears. She pulled Josh behind her, scanning the room, the confusion multiplying. "What's happening?" But it was too late. The party was dissolving into a nightmare, and the past she had tried so hard to escape was clawing its way back into her life, with Mark as its harbinger. "What have you brought with you?" she thought, fear hammering in her chest. And just as she caught sight of something or someone looming in the kitchen doorway, realization hit her like ice water. This wasn't just about her mistakes or Mark's failures, this was far bigger. With a final push of actual terror, she turned back to Mark. "What do they want?" But before he could respond, a figure emerged from the shadows. What dark forces had come with him this time? And how far would they go to reclaim what they believed was theirs? The figure stepped fully into the light, a tall silhouette with darkened features and a twisted grin frozen across his face. The crowd recoiled, panic spreading like wildfire. It was a man, but not just anyone, he was someone Sarah recognized. Someone she hoped never to see again. "Mark," she hissed, her voice trembling. "Who is that?" Mark's face paled further, the shadows deepening under his eyes. I wasn't sure they defined me here." "I thought," his voice faltered. "Thought what?" Sarah snapped, adrenaline roaring in her veins. "That you could just show up and explain your way out?" Josh squeezed her hand, bewildered, unsure of how to process the terror unfolding before him. Sarah was acutely aware of the eyes around them, friends turned spectators glued to the scene, whispering in hushed tones. It felt as if all their past wrongs were spiraling into this moment. The figure spoke, his tone smooth but laced with malice. Well, look who we have here. The prodigal husband and his lovely family." His eyes flicked to Josh, and Sarah felt a chill race down her spine. "Still a little boy, I see. How quaint." "Shut up," Mark yelled, stepping in front of Sarah and Josh, his stance protective but shaky. "What do you want?" A haze clouded Sarah's thoughts as dread seeped into her bones. This was no ordinary interruption. It was a reckoning, a reaping of consequences from years of hidden truths. "Mark, please, tell me what's going on," she pleaded, her tone softening, sensing a crack in his bravado. "Do you remember that night?" Mark's voice was low, almost a whisper. "When I left? When everything fell apart?" The crowd began to murmur with an anxious energy, eyes darting between the figure in the kitchen and the ensemble of emotions unraveling before them. "Of course I do." "You left," Sarah shouted, frustration boiling over. "You left us to fend for ourselves. Just when things were getting dangerous." Mark interrupted. "Dangerous for you, for him." The stranger chuckled, the sound like gravel being crushed. "Oh, you poor souls. You have no idea what you're in for. You think you left it all behind, Sarah. You thought I couldn't find you." At that moment, the lights flickered again, more violently, threatening to plunge them back into darkness. Sarah's heart raced. The finery of the party felt like a flimsy veil over the threat looming before them, the specter of danger no longer elusive. Mark staggered forward to confront the figure, fire in his eyes. "What do you want with us? I made my choice years ago. Leave us alone." But the man only laughed, a cold, splintering sound that cut through the haze of confusion. "You made a choice, yes. And now I'm here to collect what's mine. You think you can run forever? There are debts to be paid." Sarah's stomach churned with fear. She realized with absolute clarity this wasn't about Mark's past, it was about her future. "Run!" Mark shouted, grabbing Josh's hand. "This isn't over. We need to get out of here." The struggle became frantic, guests were screaming, the party dissolving into a frenzy of confusion and chaos. But as they pushed toward the door, the figure stepped forward, blocking their path, a predatory smile stretching across his lips. "Where do you think you're going?" The weight of dread filled the air, tangible and suffocating. "Mark!" Sarah cried out, panic boiling over in her chest as the figure raised his arm, glints of metal catching the light. The kitchen had turned into a deadly stage, and in that split second, Sarah realized the ultimate question hung in the air. Would they escape, or was this just the beginning of an even darker chapter? Mark's eyes, wide and frantic, locked onto Sarah's. "Trust me," he whispered, desperation spilling from his voice. "Stay close, we'll get through this." But the figure, with his gleaming blade catching the dim light, stepped forward. The atmosphere trembled as he reveled in their terror, feeding off it like a predator circling his prey. It was as if time slowed, the noise of the party becoming a muffled backdrop to the chaos swirling around them. "Such a family reunion," he mocked, glancing at the guests. Who knew the prodigal would return to play hero? Panic bubbled in Sarah's throat. "What do you want?" Her voice cracked, pulling a desperate glance towards Josh, who was frozen beside her. "Isn't it obvious?" The man took a deliberate step closer, his grin widening. "You owe me everything." Mark moved, pushing against the tide of panicking bodies, pulling Sarah and Josh back toward the kitchen counter. "This isn't the time for games," he barked, frustration cutting through his fear. "We can handle this." But the figure's laughter sliced through the fraught air like the blade he brandished. "Handle? Oh, you think you can handle me? This is just the beginning, my friend." As he leaned in, Sarah caught another flicker of light, the glint of a silver pendant hanging around his neck, the same one she had seen years before. She felt a cold wave wash over her. This man was not just a ghost from Mark's past, he was tied to her history too. The crowd pressed back, phones raised, capturing footage of this unfolding nightmare. Whispers buzzed, their eyes darting between the figure and Sarah's family. Friends she had known for years stood paralyzed, unsure of what to do. She could feel their fear, their shock, yet they were powerless to intervene. "Mark! We need to get out of here." Josh's voice sliced through the tension, his small hand trembling in hers. Mark steeled himself, the fire in his eyes igniting. "Not yet. I can't let him let me what?" The figure interrupted, leaning closer, venom in his voice. "Let you unravel everything? You were a coward before, why should now be any different?" Without warning, he lunged forward, using his blade to shatter the half-open bottle of wine perched on the edge of the counter. Liquid splattered across the floor, a chilling reminder of the barbed danger they faced. Sarah instinctively leaped back, pulling Josh with her, as the guests surged towards the exits. "Everyone, get out!" Mark shouted, panic cracking through his calm facade. He seized a nearby chair and hurled it at the assailant. The man sidestepped effortlessly, his laughter echoing as he regained his stance, unfazed. Such bravery for someone with so much to lose. Mark's face hardened. "You have no idea what you're dealing with." "Or maybe," the figure said, his grin unnaturally wide, "I know everything. And tonight, the past will be accounted for." With that, he lunged again, and the chaos erupted into a new frenzy. Guests screamed, the sound drowning in the crash of furniture as they scrambled to escape the kitchen. Mark's shoulder brushed against Sarah, a shared moment of resolve sparking between them. "Keep him away from Josh," she shouted, adrenaline surging as she searched for a way out, and that frantic scuffle, a fight for survival, had ignited. Sarah felt her heart thudding loudly, the thick air closing in around them. She steeled her resolve, catching Mark's eye, both of them understanding in that split second there was no turning back, but against the swirling chaos, one fear struck her heart like a thunderclap: could they really stop this man before it was too late? Before she could wrestle with that uncertainty, a shocking realization unfurled in her mind, bathed in fear and clarity. What if this figure wielded not just a weapon, but a truth lurking in the shadows of their lives? As the air crackled with tension, another beam of light flickered on overhead. The crowd gasped, and suddenly, a distant but familiar voice echoed from behind them, "What's going on here?" The question hung like a hammer poised to fall, and in that moment of dread, Sarah realized they were far from finished. Would help arrive in time, or was it all a trap disguised as a rescue? The voice cut through the chaos like a knife. Sarah turned, hope clashing with dread. Gary, the family friend and local sheriff, stood framed in the doorway, his face a mix of confusion and alarm. Sarah's breath hitched as she fought to steady her nerves. "Gary! Get back!" Mark shouted, stepping in front of Sarah and Josh. The atmosphere shifted again, the tension solidified into something sharp and dangerous. The assailant now seemed more focused, his attention drawn to the new arrival. "What have we got here?" Gary asked, scanning the scene, eyes narrowing on the figure wielding the blade. His tone was calm, but that only underscored the peril they all faced. "Put the knife down, and let us talk this through." "Oh, how noble," the man sneered, twirling the knife in his hand. "Talk? What a quaint idea. I don't feel like chatting tonight." His eyes flared, light dancing across the blade as it glinted ominously. Sarah's mind raced. They needed a plan. Fast. Panic bubbled as she clutched Josh's hand tighter, his small fingers trembling against hers. Their world had turned upside down with this unexpected terror, and she felt caught in a webs of past and present. "Gary, this is bad. He knows things about us," Sarah managed, her voice shaking as she fought to keep it steady. "Oh, sweet Sarah," the figure said mockingly, "you still think this is about you? This is all about Mark." He took a step toward them, confidence radiating from his very posture. Mark's jaw clenched. "You don't have to do this. You think this ends well for you?" "Oh, I don't think, young man, I know." The man's voice dropped lower, threatening, as he fixated on Mark. "And where's the fun in it ending now? The family reunion is just getting started." From the corner of her eye, Sarah saw guests still clinging to their phones, recording this horror instead of helping. Fear gripped her heart, each second felt like an eternity. She could see Gary reaching for his sidearm, but was it too late? Would pulling a weapon only escalate this madness? "Back away!" Gary yelled, a fierce authority permeating his voice. Mark grabbed Sarah and Josh, pulling them even closer as if somehow he could shield them with his own body. "Do you really want to see how far I can push you?" The man taunted, forcing silence among the crowd. Then, in an abrupt and staggering moment, he lunged forward, blade aimed directly at Mark. Time seemed to stretch, Sarah's breath caught in her throat, dread clawing at her chest, the shriek of a metal chair scraping against the floor rang out as Gary moved, desperate to intervene. The sharpness of the moment was cut down by the sudden chaos of bodies. People rushed, attempting to push past one another, frantic to flee. "Stay down!" Gary shouted as he fired a warning shot into the air. The noise was deafening, sending a wave of panic through the crowd, but it startled the man just enough to deter his charge. "Now we've got a party," the figure hissed, eyes glinting with madness in the scattered light. The room was a maelstrom of terror, cries echoed through the atmosphere thick with desperation. As the chaos swirled around her, Sarah felt a rush of determination surge within her. She had to protect Josh. She had to make it out of this alive. "Mark! I have an idea!" She yelled over the din. But the only thing she could see was the fear in her son's eyes. "Hang on tight." Mark responded, his voice fierce. The assailant turned sharply, face lit with a twisted grin, and in that instant, as Sarah met his chilling stare, it struck her. The pendant he wore wasn't merely a piece of jewelry. It was a symbol of something darker. Beyond the blade. "Josh! Trust me, she whispered urgently, as her heart raced with determination. We can take him together. But as they prepared to act, another low voice caught her attention from the shadows, and her stomach dropped at the realization. It was a voice she hadn't heard in years. Sarah, it's time we talked about our family legacy. Questions flooded her mind in a panic. Who was behind this new voice, and how deep did their connection run? As Sarah's heart thudded in her chest, a single thought pulsed through her. What if the battle for their lives was just the beginning of uncovering the darkest secrets tethered to their very own souls? The air crackled with tension, thick enough to choke on. Sarah's mind raced, trying to process the chaos unfolding before her. Mark was crouched down, shielding Josh with his body, eyes darting from the knife-wielding man to Gary, who was poised and ready, his gun still held high. What did you say? Sarah whispered, trying to catch her breath, the voice from the shadows still echoing in her mind. It felt like a ghost had risen from the depths of her past, demanding her attention and threatening their very survival. Family legacy, the man continued, smirking. Oh, Sarah, you have no idea what you're a part of. Before she could grasp the implications, the knife flashed again as the man lunged towards Mark. Gary reacted, his instincts overpowering his hesitation. He fired another shot, the deafening crack ringing in her ears, but the assailant dodged with a feral agility, barely avoiding the bullet. People screamed, their faces pale and panicked, morphing the party atmosphere into a surreal nightmare. Someone shouted, "Call 911," but the hubbub swallowed the sound. "Get out!" Gary barked, motioning to the crowd. "Everyone, evacuate!" A crush of bodies moved, a tide of dread pushing them towards the doors, desperate to escape the horror unfolding before them. "Mom!" Josh whimpered, grasping at Sarah's skirt, his wide eyes full of terror. All she wanted to do was shield him from the bleakness of the world pressing in on them, but she also had to act. "Stay with me, Josh," she exclaimed, turning her focus back to the fight. She couldn't let her son see fear paralyze her. "Not now. Your family isn't who you think they are." The assailant taunted, advancing slowly, the blade catching flashes of light like a beacon of madness. "They've been hiding things for generations. I'm here to reveal the truth." "Shut up!" Mark shouted, anger bubbling through desperation. "We want to listen to you." The assailant laughed, an unsettling sound that echoed in Sarah's soul. "But you should." He gestured to the pendant, grinning like a man possessed. "It's all connected, Mark. Everything you think you know." He leaned closer, eyes dancing with twisted joy. "Is a lie." In that moment, something sparked within Sarah. A surge of defiance rose, fueled by a protective instinct she'd always carried. She was not just the mother in this equation, she was an equal player in this deadly game. "Mark, we need to get him to talk," she said suddenly, realization crashing over her like a wave. "If this is about our family, about us, maybe we can turn the tide." Mark hesitated, eyes searching Sarah's face, but the frantic chaos left them little time. "Are you sure? He could kill us." "We have to try." As Josh's grip relaxed slightly, allowing Sarah to step in front of him, she felt a surge of bravery dampen her fear. "What do you want?" she called out, her voice steady against the chaos. "Is this about revenge? Why would you reveal anything to us?" The figure paused, a flicker of surprise crossing his face. "Revenge? Oh, dear Sarah, it's far greater than that. I want you to understand who you are." "Understand?" Mark echoed, preparing to move closer to Sarah's side, ready to protect both her and Josh. "Perhaps it's time for you to see the truth," he said, shifting his stance and eyeing Gary, who was still steady with his weapon. "But you'll have to make a choice first. I can show you, but you must let me into your world." As Sarah took a shaky breath, the situation felt teetering on the edge. Her instincts screamed to deny him access, but what if this truth could actually save them? "Are you serious?" she gasped, grappling with the weight of his words. Your so-called truth could endanger us. Or it could save your lives, he replied, voice low and almost hypnotic. The promise of revelations hung in the air like a storm cloud ready to burst, and her heart raced at the precipice of making a decision that could unearth hidden truths or bury them forever. But the chaos was spinning out of control and Sarah knew they were running out of time. Mark, should we? She began, but the sudden groan of old wood creaking beneath. The pressure of panicked bodies stole her words. The other guests were trying to push through the doors, and as the weight shifted, she saw something glinting on the floor, a once innocuous family heirloom she recognized instantly. Her breath caught. What other secrets had they forgotten? And in that moment, Sarah realized the real battle wasn't just against the man with a knife, it was between the shadows of their family past and the desperate hope for a future. No more games. She barked, resolve surging through her again. Tell us the truth now. But the figure's face twisted into a grin, almost impossibly satisfied. Ah, the truth. How delightful. Let us see if you're ready for what's waiting in the dark. The air tightened. The door shuddered again, and everything spun out into chaos as their lives hung in the balance. Was the fight for their lives about to reveal more than just survival? What terrible truths lay ahead? The air grew tense, heavy with unsaid words and the weight of past mistakes. Sarah felt beads of sweat trickle down her back as she stood braced for impact. Mark's presence next to her felt like a lifeline, but doubts fluttered in her heart. Josh was still beside her, eyes wide with fear. Tell us the truth. Sarah demanded again, her voice rising above the noise, fierce and unyielding. If you want us to trust you, then show us. The figure leaned back, visibly taken aback by her defiance. It's as if he hadn't expected her courage, hadn't prepared for this particular response. You're braver than I thought, he muttered, his voice low and dangerous. Very well. You want the truth? Prepare yourselves. As he spoke, the lights flickered again, plunging the room into darkness for a heartbeat before coming back on, brighter and more revealing. Sarah felt her heart lurch. Shadows danced like flickering flames across faces that were now frozen in fear or disbelief. There's a legacy that ties you together, he continued, pacing slowly, his eyes glinting malevolently. Your family is bound by blood and deception. It's all been hidden, swept under the rug, but it can't stay buried forever. Stop playing games. Mark interjected, his voice filled with urgent desperation. What are you talking about? The man leaned closer, lowering his voice as if sharing the most sacred of secrets. Your lineage spans generations, Sarah. Each one has made choices that have consequences, dark ones. And now you're all involved. What kind of choices? Sarah's voice trembled slightly, fear creeping in as uncertain memories flickered in her mind. Choices that put lives in danger. Choices that can break you. His gaze darted to Josh, who stood in tense silence. But more importantly, choices that can bring you great power. Power? The word felt foreign against the chaos surrounding them, as if it belonged to a conversation altogether separate from her reality. What are you saying? The man stepped even closer now, energized by the interest he caught in her voice. You don't know what you're capable of doing. You have the power to control your destiny and the lives of those around you. But Sarah felt a visceral reaction to his words. I'm just a mom. I don't want power, I want to protect my son. Oh, sweet, naive Sarah, he cooed, his twisted smile unsettling her even further. To protect is to wield tremendous power. It's time you realize what you truly possess. Before she could respond, Gary stepped forward cautiously, gun aimed steadily. I'm warning you again. Back away from them. But the man only laughed darkly. Such bravado from the law. You think this will intimidate me? His eyes flickered with a dangerous glint. You have no idea what I'm willing to do. But you'll learn soon enough. The tension exploded as another loud crash echoed behind them. More screams erupted as one of the party guests made a break for the back door, sending a shockwave of panic through the crowd. In that moment of chaos, Sarah seized the opportunity, instinctively pulling Josh closer to her. "Mark. We have to go." She grabbed his arm, pulling him toward the door, her instincts screaming to escape, but Mark hesitated, torn between the threat and the bizarre revelations laid before them. "We can't just leave without understanding." "I don't care about understanding. Our lives are in danger," Sarah urged, eyes darting to Gary, who maintained a steady stance, his resolve unwavering as he monitored the man. The figure noticed their shift, and a growl of irritation escaped his lips. "Run as you wish. You can't escape your fate, Sarah." Just then, a blinding light surged from a cellular device, illuminating the room. A friend among the crowd had started to film in sheer disbelief, capturing everything: the chaos, the fear, the very shadows lurking. "Enough!" Sarah shouted, her voice piercing through the disarray as she turned back to the figure, refusing to back down. "Tell us what you want, and maybe we'll listen." He paused, momentarily thrown, and in his hesitation, Sarah caught a glimpse of uncertainty. "You really want to hear it?" he offered softly, almost taunting. "Yes." At that moment, the words spilled out a volatile combination of anger and regret. "You come from a bloodline of deceivers. Your family has thrived on lies for generations. You've inherited that legacy, and now you have a choice to either end it or let it continue." Silence fell thick and oppressive. The truth hung like a weight in the air. Mark interjected, his voice trembling. "So this is about revenge? For what? For who?" The figure let out another laugh, more sinister than before. "Revenge is but a small thread in this grand tapestry, Mark. You could be so much more." Though fear brandished at her thoughts, Sarah felt a flicker of defiance within her heart, igniting against the oppressive darkness. "We are not your pawns. We will not be part of your twisted game." At that moment, the lights flickered vividly, creating a brilliant strobe, and with that flash came clarity. This was more than just a party gone wrong. It was a reckoning, a chance to shatter the past or be swallowed under its weight. "Josh," she said, the warmth of her voice wrapping around him, "whatever happens, you remember that you are loved, that you are stronger than their shadows." Tears brimmed in Josh's eyes, but he nodded resolutely. "I'm not scared, Mom." But she could sense the fear thrumming through him as the figure took a step back, a predatory gaze fixed upon them. "We will see who has the power, Sarah," he taunted. Suddenly, a sound broke through the chaos again. A heavy thud reverberated from inside the house, and Sarah's heart dropped. There was something more sinister lingering beneath the surface. "Mark!" Sarah shouted, clutching his arm as the tension mounted. "We have to stop this, whatever it means for us. We can't let this destroy us." He nodded determinedly. "Together," he said softly, and at that moment, Sarah felt a surge of hope. As the figure from the shadows loomed larger, her gaze locked onto Mark, and she whispered, "Now." They moved in unison, a whirlwind of devotion and instinct, pushing past fear. A surge of energy filled the space around them, as the past danced dangerously close to their present. Whatever the figure knew, it had to end here and now. With shared strength, they lunged forward, ready to face whatever darkness awaited them, but also ready to redefine the legacy being thrust upon them. In that moment, they understood the truth. Becoming part of one another's light wasn't just a choice, it was their destiny. As they intertwined their resistance and courage, the air crackled, electric and alive. They would confront the darkest corners, and in doing so, perhaps they could finally find freedom from the ties that bound them. Together, they charged forth into the storm that raged with one resolute intention, to reclaim not just their lives, but everything new that lay ahead. "Is this all you've got?" Sarah shouted defiantly, challenging the shadows and the dark laughter ringing in her ears. And something shifted. The air felt fresh, the danger palpable, yet she and Mark were ready to pave their way to brighter days. The echoes of the past faded. No matter what was lurking ahead, they would face it together, armed with love, resilience, and the undeniable power of choice, and as the chaos rained on, it was clear, this was just the beginning. But now, listen up. You need to subscribe immediately to catch every chapter of this journey. Don't wait even one more second, smash that like button now to keep up with the algorithm. I want to hear your reactions and theories about this wild ending. Flood the comments section with your thoughts. And share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this ends. Your support means the world. Show it today.